Hey, everybody. Welcome to the official Do Good Better podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Kirby. And of course, we talk with people who are going to help our small and medium-sized nonprofits do good better. And sometimes those people are running small and medium-sized nonprofits, and they're going to help you do good better. Janna Westerholm, she is the founder of Henriks Heroes, and she is joining us today. Janna, welcome to the official Do Good Better podcast.
Hi, Patrick. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm very excited to chat with you today, and I'm sure many people are very excited to hear about you today, but they're probably scrolling through iTunes or Spotify or YouTube, and they're finding out, and they're like, I want to know more, but I don't know a lot. So to kind of kick us off, would you give us a 5,000-foot view on who you are, what you do, and why we're talking today?
Yes, I would love to. The mission of Henriks Heroes is to support and empower children and their families going through medical treatment. From diagnosis through treatment and recovery, we help children understand their diagnosis and their medical needs better by providing them with medical play dolls called warrior dolls that are customized to their medical needs. We offer wish gifts to children with life-threatening illnesses such as cancer that bring joy and lift their spirits during a hard time. This creates positive memories in an otherwise dark time in their life or a negative time in their life. And because our family has been through a similar situation, we feel that we have a lot to offer these families and understand how to help them. So we just work hard on connecting families through our community of support and make that journey a little bit easier for them.
Outstanding. Would you be so kind as to describe how you got involved as your own journey kind of led you to providing this? I'm assuming has something to do with the title of your nonprofit.
Yes. Before life was going along just fine. And then there was, like many nonprofits have the story of how they started and how their interests and their desires to give back changed. And of course, that was the same for us too. Our son, Henrik, was diagnosed with leukemia at the age of 4 years old. He's 8 now and doing wonderful, but it wasn't without a very life-changing journey and a struggle for him and our family. He ended up needing a bone marrow transplant from his little brothers. So it was overall quite the family effort to battle this together. And during our journey, we had an amazing amount of support. Obviously, our community is just phenomenal when it comes to pulling together for people that are going through a struggle. So we were just overwhelmed with the amount of support, and we knew we wanted to give back and do something. I never thought it would be on this scale and we'd be doing what we're doing now. But it started with just little things in treatment, such as Henrik finding comfort and in medical play, and finding that was something that helped him cope, and it helped him learn about his port and all the treatments that he needed. So we ended up making a warrior doll for him and continued to give those dolls out to many other children in the community, and it just kind of blew up on social media. And I would say the dolls are kind of the founding, thing that started everything. And we continue to make dolls today, but we've just grown and done so many more things that just align with our missions and how we want to serve families. So
I love it. I like the entire family, all hands on deck. We're going to get this done kind of attitude, and I so appreciate that. And I think that's kind of reflective in maybe how you started to say, hey, listen, if you need a body in the family who's also going to be able to help sort of get you through some of those things, here we are for you. I'm sure after the countless families that you have helped and individuals who are, kiddos who are in the hospital, you've probably got 1.5 million stories to tell. But running a nonprofit is hard, and we sometimes forget to remind ourselves, like, hey, we do this because of this. Is there a particular story that stands out that you go back to when the going gets tough running and founding a nonprofit? They go, oh, I remember. And outside of Henrik's sort of story, but is there one that you've affected that's, sort of like, hey, we continue doing the fight because of this?
Yes. And, you just hit the nail on the head. Exactly. You have so many, as many nonprofits do, you have so many stories, right? And every little story and every just thank you and everything that comes back is amazing. But I do have kind of my favorite stories, and a lot of them revolve around the warrior dolls, because I didn't know how much that those would help children and just the ways that they would they would continue to help them. So when we very first started giving dolls, we just started giving back as a family. And there was a family that we had met that a young 8-year-old was going through leukemia treatment. And leukemia is a long treatment course. It usually has kind of an intense beginning and middle, and then fairly little bit more stable maintenance where the kids may be going to school. They still have a lot, of hair loss, but they are having to fight cancer and then continue to go on with their normal lives. And that's a very hard spot for a lot of children to be, especially young girls. And so one of my favorite stories that made me realize this is my calling, this is what I should be doing. And we're gonna just try this and grow with it and see where it goes, is this young girl who was, she was in 2nd grade. And she was having a little bit of a hard time because she was kind of wanting to be done with cancer, right? She was over it at this point. And a lot of the kids just didn't understand. That's a hard age to understand, well, what is she going through? Why does she still not have any hair? And why is she gone all the time from the classroom? And so I made her a doll with a port. And the beauty of what we do is we make medical play dolls that are real working medical supplies. So that could be a whole nother topic, but the port access process is it's very hard for a child. And so they have a port is a central line that's underneath your skin, or the line goes into your heart, and that's how you have to receive chemotherapy. So she got her doll and she was just loving her doll and playing with it all the time. And her mom suggested, why don't you bring it to school and maybe the kids can understand what you have to go through when you get your port accessed. And so she did. She stood in front of her classroom and demonstrated, as nurses and doctors do, this isn't something children normally do, is access a port, but they become the medical experts. They're just so good at being the patient, which is sad. But she accessed the port and it even draws pretend blood. So she kind of showed how she gets her labs drawn and gets her port access and gets her chemotherapy to her 2nd grade class. And it was so empowering just to see that, see the pictures come back, and her mom just talking about how it really helped her, when the child turns into the teacher, they're able to, turn it around, and instead of being scared or nervous about something, they are empowered and they're able to become the teacher. And so then the kids understood what she went through every day. So that's one of my favorite stories of how these dolls can really help.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm sure the other kids, instead of like wondering what on earth is going on, they're like, oh, that makes sense. And then moving on with their day, which makes their stress a little less and the, patient stress a little less. And I think that's brilliant. And that's awesome. Not all things, however, are bright and shiny and full of rainbows and puppy dogs and ice cream when you're running a nonprofit. What sort of challenges have you and your sort of team sort of occurred, and how are you either getting through that, or how did you get through that with part of Henriks Heroes?
Well, I think the biggest challenge for me is this is a very big life-changing course for me. I'm a bedside nurse of 15 years, and though that's maybe helped me in my medical understanding and helping kids with medical illnesses, it's a very different world for me trying to turn over and do this this nonprofit stuff. So I guess that's just part of it, is like getting this second year going, this full second year of we did events last year. We did a warrior color run, and we did a Golden Stars gala. And of course it was time to start those events and those fundraising events. And then of course it was in the midst of a pandemic, and it was hard, as everybody, had struggles with. It was hard to know how to navigate that. And it was just, again, our first year of those were just new challenges for me personally, to figure out how to create events in the community that are fun, profitable for our organization, and also finding sponsors and donors that have missions that align with ours. So it's all been a challenge for me, but nothing specifically. I know we're kind of young in our growth, and I'm sure we'll encounter a lot more things in the future. But I guess for this upcoming year, I have a little bit of not a worry or concern, but now that our organization has gotten a lot of awareness and people are aware of what we do, there's a lot more stories that come forward about children that have medical needs. It's really eye-opening doing this, seeing how many children not only are diagnosed with cancer in our area every year, but just live with a chronic illness, whether it's, sorry.
That dog doesn't like chronic illnesses either.
Yeah. So then just being able to kind of that nervous feeling of being able to make sure that we can keep up. And we've always been able to fulfill the needs that we've come across, but just continuing to do that and continuing to find support and help all the families that we encounter.
Well, I think everybody who has started a nonprofit recently probably starting to nod their head in unison as you're talking to the same struggles that everybody else has too. And I'd love to say, wow, Janna, you're so unique in your challenges, and everybody else is kind of like, nope, that's kind of how it is. But again, the audacity of starting something so wonderful is usually the path to kind of get out and rock through whatever challenge that might be. And in your brief time, as a sort of a founder of a nonprofit, I'm sure you've come across a tip or a trick that you have found very successful that maybe you would share with the listening audience that might help them as well. So do you have a tip or a trick that you would like to give a nonprofit?
Well, I guess I would just say that it sounds kind of, cliche and corny, but, follow your heart and just remember why you started this in the first place. Just kind of go back to those success stories and read through those and remember why you're doing what you're doing. And the hardest part for me has been that ask for money and ask for funds. And I guess my thinking, I've tried to help myself by saying, just remember, it's not for me. I'm not asking for the money. I'm asking for the kids, and that's the important thing. So just remembering why you're doing what you're doing and continue to show people that.
That is not cliche at all. That is one of the most important things that a nonprofit can do, is remember why on earth they're doing it in the first place. And I don't think enough take the time to remember that too. So it's a wonderful reminder as people are listening too. And speaking of listening, they'd probably want to give you a boatload of money. There's probably people on here going, this sounds like an amazing thing. I want to give lots, but I don't know how to get a hold of Henriks Heroes. How on earth do we find you? Where can we give? How do we help? Give us the list of all the places we can go and click.
Sure. So we're on Facebook, and when you search, it's Henriks Heroes. We have a Facebook page where you can reach out. So it's HENRIK. That's how you spell Henrik. And then also on our website, henrik'sheros.org. We are paired up with Dakota Medical Foundation, so we can also be reached through them. They are our fiscal sponsor. So that, and just emailing me at janna@henrik'sheros.org.
Well, of course, we're going to have all those links in the show notes. So immediately after this podcast, I think everyone should go click on a bunch of those things and go check them out. Donate as generously as possible. And while you're on the internet, by the way, go and like this and subscribe to this podcast. You want to. You don't want to listen to more people like Janna and all the awesome things that they're doing. And then go back and click on the website and go give a lot of money, because they deserve it. And it's really awesome. Janna, thanks so much for what you do. I love that you followed your heart and your the audacity of starting something like this, and the impact that you've already made, and the wonderful, I think how it resonates. Like all the sort of explosion on social media is proof of a concept here that people really want to help, and they really want to make a difference in the way that you're trying to help too. So kudos to you on that. And thank you so much for being a guest here on the official Do Good Better podcast.
Thank you so much.